So I land in Dublin, hand over my passport, and the officer's face completely changes. He doesn't even say a word, just radio someone, and within seconds, two more officers appear. Come with us. They walk me past everyone into this windowless back room. The door behind me locks, and they spread my passport out on the table. They start circling stamps with their fingers. Why Turkey and Egypt in the same week? Who pays for these flights? What were you really doing in these countries? You think we're stupid? Then the senior officer closes my passport, slides away from me, and says, "You're not going anywhere until we figure it out where you're hiding." I wasn't just detained. For a moment, I genuinely thought I was going to be arrested. I spent over 90 minutes in that room. My bags were searched, my phone was checked, and everything was questioned. If you have any of these steps, travel patterns, or make one wrong answer, this will happen to you. What I learned in that interrogation room could save you from deportation. So here's what they are actually trying to look for. Alright, so before I break down exactly what happened in that room, let me give you some context. I travel a lot. For work, for content, sometimes just because I found a cheap flight. And over the past year, my passport has gotten, let's say, very full. Multiple countries, short trips, back-to-back travel, the kind of pattern that apparently makes immigration officers very, very suspicious. Now, I've been through customs hundreds of times, I know the drill, but Dublin was different. And what I'm about to share with you isn't just my story, it's a warning. Because the questions they asked me, the things they were looking for, it applies to so many travelers today. So if you're a digital nomad, if you travel for work, if you're someone who just loves exploring different countries, stay with me, because by the end of this video, you know exactly how to handle this situation if it happens to you. So it's a Tuesday morning, I land at Dublin Airport around 9 a.m. The flight was smooth, I'm feeling okay, and I'm ready to explore the city just for a few days before heading back to my next destination. This was just a layover. So I grabbed my bag, I head to the immigration for the transfer, and I joined the non-EU citizens line. The standard stuff. Pretty much what I've been used to do for the past couple of years. The line moves pretty quickly and I'm on my phone, just scrolling, not really thinking about anything. I just want to get through, find my gate, maybe grab some food. Then it's my turn. I walk up, I hand over my passport with a smile, and I say, "How's it going?" The officer, middle-aged guy, very serious face, takes my passport without saying a word. He opens it, starts flipping through the pages, and then he stops. He flips back, looks at a page, flips forward, looks at another page. His expression doesn't change, but I can tell something's off. Now I'm standing there thinking, okay, maybe he's just through, no big deal. But then he looks up at me, and without any warmth in his voice, he goes, "How long are you staying in Ireland?" "Just 3 days," I say. "I'm here to see Dublin, then heading to London." He nods slowly, doesn't smile, just keeps staring at my passport. Then he picks up his radio. And I hear him saying something like, "Yeah, I need a secondary on gate 7. And that's when my stomach drops. Because if you've traveled enough, you know what secondary means. It means you're not going through the normal line anymore. It means that they want to ask you more questions. It means you're about to have a very, very bad day. Within maybe 30 seconds, two more officers show up. One of them is clearly the supervisor, older, more authoritative. The first officer hands in my passport and they have this quiet conversation where I can't hear what they're saying. But they're both looking at my passport, then at me, then back at the passport. Finally, the supervisor looks at me and says, "Sir, we need you to come with us for additional screening." Now I've been pulled aside before at other airports. Usually it's just a few extra questions when you're on your way, but something about the way he said it, I knew it wasn't going to be quick. They walked me past the regular customs area, past all other travelers who are just breezing through, and I can feel people staring. You know the walk-up shame feeling? Yeah, that. We go down this hallway and they just take me into this small room, no windows, just a table. And here's the thing that made me nervous. One of the officers stays outside the door like guarding it. The other two come in with me. The supervisor sits down from across me. The other officer stands by the door inside the room. And they just look at me for what it feels like forever, but was probably only 10 seconds. Then the supervisor opens my passport again and spread it out on the table between us. And he starts pointing at different stamps. Turkey, Egypt, Morocco, UAE, all within the 3 months. I nod, "Yeah, I travel for work," and he cuts me off. "What kind of work requires you to be in Turkey for 2 weeks?" And right there, I realized they think I'm doing something illegal. They don't say it directly, but the implication is clear. The short trips, the Middle Eastern countries, they think I'm either smuggling something, working illegally, or worse. And this is where most people mess up. Because when you're in that room and you're being accused of something you didn't do, your instinct is to get defensive, to over explain, to talk too much. But that's exactly what they want you to do. Alrighty, let me walk you through the actual questions they ask me because this is the part you need to pay attention to. Question 1. What do you do for work? I'm a finance manager, but I'm also a content creator. So I make videos, I do freelance consulting, I travel for projects, but here's the problem. That sounds made up to an immigration officer. So I kept it simple. I work in finance and I do content creation. I have clients in different countries. The officer wasn't satisfied. He said, show me proof. So I pull out my phone, show him my YouTube channel, show him some emails from clients. He barely looked at it. Question 2. Why were you in Turkey for 2 weeks? This is where it gets tricky. The truth is, I was there because I was on vacation, but they don't care about the truth. They care about whether your story makes sense. I explained. I had a few time off and I decided to go to Antalya, this coastal city, so I could be in the beach all day. And he stares at me and say, why Turkey of all places? See what he's doing? He's poking holes in my story, looking for inconsistencies. Question 3. How are you funding all this travel? This is a big one. They want to know if you're working illegally in their country or if you have legitimate income. I told them I work remotely, I have savings, and I showed my bank statements on my phone, but even then, they are skeptical. The supervisor looks at my bank balance and say, this shows money coming in from different sources. How do we know this isn't payment for illegal work? And that's when I realized they're not just asking questions, they're building a case. Now, question number 4. What were you really doing in Ireland for 3 days? And at this point, I'm exhausted. We've been in this room for maybe 45 minutes, and I just want to be honest. I'm here to see Dublin. I've never been. I'm a tourist. He looks at me like I'm lying. You travel to all these countries for work, but Ireland is just for tourism. Yeah, sometimes I travel for fun. He doesn't believe me, and I can see it in his face. Question 5. Have you ever overstayed a visa? No, never. I told him that. But the way he asked it felt like a trap. Like he already thought I had. Question 6. Do you have a return ticket? Yes, and I showed him the flight to London in 3 days. But then he asked, and after London? And I told him my rough plans. But here's the thing, I didn't have everything booked yet. I like to do it as I go, and that's a big mistake because to them, not having a solid itinerary means you might be planning to stay illegally. It means you're unpredictable. It means you're a risk. Question 7. Are you being honest with me? This was the question that shook me because it's not really a question, it's an accusation. I looked him in the eye and said, yes, I told you everything. He stared at me for what felt like an eternity. Then he said, if we find out you're lying, you'll be banned from entering Ireland, possibly the entire EU. Do you understand? I understood. So after about an hour of questioning, I thought maybe we were done. Maybe they would let me go. No. The supervisor stands up and says, we need to search your belongings. They bring in my suitcase and my backpack. They go through everything. Clothes, toiletries, my laptop, my camera gear, charging cables. They even opened my hard drive case and looked at every single drive. They part on my laptop, asked me to unlock it, started going through my files. They look at my browser history, my recent documents, my photos. And here's what scared me. They weren't just looking for contraband, they were looking for evidence that I was working illegally or lying about my income. One of the officers saw a folder labeled Client Projects and opened it. He started asking me about every single file. What is this? Who is this for? When did you do this? I'm answering as best as I can, but at this point, I'm mentally exhausted. I've been in this room for over an hour. I haven't eaten. I'm jet lagged, and I'm starting to panic. Because the longer this goes on, the more I realize they might actually deport me. And here's the thing no one tells you about custom detention. You have almost no rights. They can hold you for hours. They can search your stuff without a warrant. They can ask you anything. And if they don't like your answers, they can send you back on the next flight. After what felt like forever, the supervisor finally closed my laptop. He looks at my passport one more time, then he looks at me and he says, your travel pattern is highly unusual. We see a lot of people who are working illegally or involved in smuggling. I took a breath and I said, I understand it looks unusual, but I'm not doing anything illegal. I'm a digital nomad. I work remotely, I travel because I can. And I've never overstayed a visa, never worked illegally, and never broken any laws. And he doesn't respond right away, he just kept staring at me. Then he asked, do you have proof of accommodation in Dublin? Indeed, I had booked a hostel, and I showed him the confirmation email. In proof of funds for your stay, I showed him my bank balance again. He looked at everything one more time, then he nodded to the other officer. And finally, he said, alright, we're gonna let you go through. But I'm putting a note in your file. If you come back to Ireland and there are any issues, you will be denied entry immediately. Do you understand? I nodded, yes, I understand, thank you. He stamped my passport, handed it back to me, and said, welcome to Ireland. And just like that, it was over. 90 minutes of interrogation and I was ready to go. Okay, so now that you know what happened, let me break down what I learned from this experience, because if you travel frequently, this will help you. Immigration officers are trained to be suspicious. They are not trying to be your friend. They are trying to protect the country from illegal workers, smugglers, and people who overstay visas. So if your travel pattern looks unusual, it will be questioned. Lesson 2. Short trips to multiple countries are a red flag, especially if those countries are in regions known for illegal work or smuggling. Turkey, Egypt, UAE, Morocco, these are all countries that raise eyebrows. If you're doing short trips, have a clear explanation ready and have proof. Client emails, project contracts, anything that shows why you're there in the first place. Lesson 3. Digital nomad doesn't mean anything to them. Immigration officers don't care that you work remotely. They care that you're not working illegally in their country. So just don't say I'm a digital nomad. Be specific. I'm a freelance consultant. I work for clients remotely and I have proof. Lesson 4. Always have proof of everything. Return ticket, accommodation, bank statements, client emails, anything that shows you're a legitimate traveler and not a risk. I cannot stress this enough. If you can prove it, they won't believe it. In lesson 5, stay calm and don't over-explain. When you're being interrogated, your instinct is to talk a lot, to fill the silence, to justify yourself. Don't. Answer the question clearly and concisely, then stop talking. Let them ask the next question. Over-explaining makes you look nervous, and nervous makes you look guilty. Lesson 6. Know your rights but don't be combative. You have the right to remain silent in many situations. You have the right to ask for a lawyer in so many cases. But here's the reality. If you're combative with immigration, they will make your life hell. Be polite, be cooperative, but don't volunteer information they didn't ask for. Lesson 7. Document everything. If this happens to you, take notes afterward. Write down the question they asked, the officer's names if you can, and the outcome. If you're ever banned or denied entry, you need this information to appeal. So that's what happened to me at Dublin Customs. 90 minutes of my life that I'll never get back, but honestly, I learned a lot. Traveling is amazing. Seeing the world, experiencing different cultures, meeting new people, it's one of the best things you could do with your life. But the reality is, the more you travel, the more you're going to deal with situations like this. Immigration is stricter than ever, and if your travel pattern doesn't fit the mold, you're going to get questioned. So here's my advice. Be prepared, have your documents ready, know your story, and stay calm. Because the worst thing you can do in that situation is panic. And if this somehow resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching, safe travels, and hopefully you never have to experience what I went through in Dublin. Bye.